planting in more is the goal for today's video, and I'm so excited. I think we should hop right in. We're going to be making several changes in this area alone today. So in order to make sure we get everything done and then head out and shop, we're going to need to jump head in, and that way we can get everything accomplished. Normally I go back and forth between if I'm going to be drinking tea or coffee, but I know with the energy that I'm going to need today to get all of this accomplished, I'm going to definitely need a beautiful cup of coffee. But for right now, I'm going to show you all what this area looks like before we come in and pull all of the containers in this area to flip it over to its next look. And I'm so excited because I've been kind of waiting for this to happen. So let's just hop right in and let me show you what the containers look like. We'll start over here. This container right here a few days ago was looking absolutely amazing. Now, if I was going to keep this container, I would have basically done the maintenance on the geraniums here. But I knew the plan was to come in and pull these containers, so it was no point. Would have been an absolute waste of time. Still have the guar here in the middle. Our next container, the same thing. Now our super petunias on this one have performed pretty good. The guar looks fine. Over here, this is how this container has fared. Very beautiful. We have the guar that looks absolutely amazing. I think this is the best looking guar right here. You guys drop down in the comment box and judge the guar. So we're going to dub this guar right here as number 3 guar. And so this is how this container looks. And again, our super petunias were more in the shade, so they're not draping down as far. This was our problem container right here. With this container, we had a very large crabgrass that was growing out of the top of it. So we came in, we pulled the center piece out, and then we put the center piece back in once we got the crabgrass out. And our flowers, our super petunias, they're draping, basically touching the bottom of this container. Here's some more crabgrass here. We've been absolutely riddled with crabgrass this year. Pull this up really quick, and you see it's going up into the container here. So had I kept up with the containers, they would have been absolutely beautiful. Here's right here. I did allow them to dry down, and I'll talk about that in a second on why I allowed them to dry down, but they're looking pretty good. We have our mums that's blooming out here. We have our pansies. I did take the geraniums that I had sitting up on this table right there. I ended up moving them because, you guys, over here in this area, can you see it? All of this soil is loose because we have a mold that's been having its way. All of this. You see that? All of that's loose now. I was watering this container. I had the geranium sitting up on this table here, and once I started watering them, I started to notice that the geraniums were just leaning and leaning and leaning and leaning. And then I started looking into it, and I'm like, well, what's going on here? And I seen that that entire area was just damaged by mold. So I just went ahead, picked the geraniums up, and I set the geraniums on the ground. But all of this was beautiful. It was definitely a tiered look here. Love the tiered look because you had your container right here, and then the geraniums were kind of sitting up. We did it in the video together, but at the time that we did it, I don't believe that the geraniums were in full bloom. But you know, your geraniums are going to be cyclic the way that they bloom out, so it's going to bloom in cycles, if you will. So unless you're coming out here like keeping up on top of the geraniums. It depends on what variety you have, but with this variety, it's just a seed variety, so therefore you have to do a little bit more work. But it's something about that old-fashioned variety that I just refuse to let go. Now in other areas of my garden, like for example, last year I did use a coral geranium with a Super Tunia Bordeaux. That was a zonal geranium, and when I tell you, it was absolutely amazing, the bloom cycles. So every year in my garden I do use geraniums, and I use zonal. I also use seed geraniums in my garden. So it just all depends on the vibe, what I can get my hands on, the seedling inventory that I have. Let's start working here. The sun is starting to come over, because after we finish this, we have more that we're going to get done today. I got so many things that I want to get checked off my list that have to be done today. Are at the point in your garden where you don't want to pull your summer containers, I would go in and give them just the lightest of the prune. And I mean a light pruning, so light that you can barely, you're more so just cleaning up the container, because then you can go ahead and you can keep your containers, you know, incorporate your fall arrangements into your summer arrangements, and it'll be absolutely gorgeous and stunning. So I'll show you how I would do these if I was not going to be pulling all of these containers in this area and was just going to leave these summer annuals in place. I would just come in and just start along the bottom of the container here. I would look around the bottom of it, all the way around it, and start to come in and cut in from just like that. Just start coming in and cutting in the container. Now, this is what the container looks like once we go in and trim everything back. Now, obviously, we would definitely go in and we would the geraniums. These blooms topple over. Hit them with a round of fertilizer and then they'll be fine. But we're going to pull this one too. I'm going to leave the Gara and we are going to take our geraniums and we're going to keep all of our geraniums that we have planted up, or that we had planted up. So we're just going to take these out just like this. Yeah, I know you lying. I know you lying. That is the biggest spider. Can y'all see it? Look what is in OMG. OMG. It's like it followed me in here. This is crazy.
OMG. It's like it followed me in here. This is crazy.
All of the 4 containers here are cleaned out with the exception of the Gara. We are going to snatch the Gara out of the containers as well, but then we're going to do a little bit of changing around in this area. This area, I've been hinting at it maybe for about the past like 2 years. I've been saying, oh, we're going to do some changes, but we've just never got around to it. We're going to move these containers around, get everything in place where I want them to be. totally had to go and grab some water because when you're working in this humidity, it almost gets to the point where it's unbearable. But we're going to soldier on through. And what we're going to do, we are going to hydrate these containers here. And then we are going to do a little bit of work, not too much, but just enough for you to get where I'm coming from. Now, this geranium container, I'm just taking off all of the spent blooms on the geranium container here. And it doesn't take much once you start. So I'm almost done. Let me turn this around. Now, with your fertilizer, I always use gloves for my fertilizer. Mix it up according to the directions. Put a little bit in there. Now I'll go in and I'll water all of the pots, and then we'll also get the other pot as well. Now, if we walk around this way, this is what our entryway is. And of course, we'll have to move maybe this container over this way, so that way the opening is just right. But I totally love it. But for right now, it's encasing our fountain here, which we are going to get into the fountain there and do a little bit of maintenance there after this hot day. You can see where our cabbages kind of look a little bit poor and everything, but once we get some water in there, everything will perk back up. And then we took these containers, we moved this bench over. Now this bench has seen better days for sure. I feel like this bench is more exposed to the elements than the other bench is. As far as the gate, we can still get in and out of the gate here with no problem. There is absolutely enough room here to walk in and out of the gate. It's actually very, very, very spacious here. And so I totally love the new look of everything. Let me see if I can step back to give you a better view here of what everything looks like. This sun is just really just out. They say it's supposed to be like 100 degrees today. Well, in the 90s, but they say it's going to feel like 100. So this is how much space we have when we walk through. And even though this hydrangea tree right here is totally, is leaning for one, is leaning, but then the top of it, the blooms are just, I mean, it's a hydrangea tree. It's a limelight hydrangea tree. So at maturity, they get pretty big. But at the same time, it's still enough space for us to be able to walk right through. And yeah, you might have to come to the side a little bit, but it's definitely still enough space. And just coming in and enclosing this garden room, I am totally obsessed with this. I absolutely love this. Totally love the way that this looks. What do you guys think? Do you like how this looks right here? I might come in here and move this a little bit forward just to encase everything. But for right now, as far as the placement, I am satisfied with the placement of everything. Go ahead, we'll get our gar out here, and you can see that the plant is starting to succumb to the weather that we're having today. Very much so hot, and it really doesn't feel like fall today. It actually feels like summertime. But what we're going to do, we're going to pull this out. One of the tips, when I reuse plants, I try to make sure that I keep my root balls moist during the process. So at first, the gar was not used to this much sun. It had the plants that were planted around, acted as a living mulch, if you will. But now the roots are exposed, so we are going to go ahead, pull these up. And since we are pulling the gar in the heat of the day, we'll just go ahead and plant this container up on the inside, and that way it'll be able to take the transplant easier. Starter fertilizer, anytime I transplant a plant. Up top we have Gara here. Then I alternated and played with the size of the cabbages here. So I have the green cabbage, and then I came in with a smaller size cabbage here. Right here. I played with this one, and it has that green foliage, but then you can start to see more of the purple here, hence where we bring in our Gara at the top. But you can definitely see the coloring here. And then we have a beautiful pansy. This pansy is absolutely gorgeous. The color just makes it look like it's glowing. Here's our pansy. So what I like most about it is you can definitely see the royal purple in there, and it kind of plays with the colors. You have that deep purple like blotch right there, that canary yellow, then it kind of opens up. It almost glows when you look at it. And to me, I can see some blue hues, some blue undertones there. It's just gorgeous, the play on color here. Absolutely amazing. And that kind of just goes around. So if we turn the pot, I mean, it's completely full, like all the way around. It's just gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, this one, you definitely can see the color of the kale really good right here. And it's just amazing. So if we turn it around, this is how it looks all the way around. I'm not going to water this in yet because I need to get it in its place, and it's definitely going to be heavy. So it's not going to get watered in yet. And by the time I put this in its place where it's going, it's more than likely it'll be nighttime because I got to wait until I have some help here in order to get this off. So once my son gets back, then we'll put it in this place. I mean, this is just so gorgeous. Even the one that's fading out looks absolutely beautiful. It's just gorgeous. I love it. Up top, the Gara is kind of aerial, has an aerial feel to it. It's very airy. I love that. And you can see the pink or the magenta, if you will. And it's Carolee Petite Gara that I pulled out of those containers. So we just reuse them for a beautiful fall arrangement. See the size of these cabbages right here, right? Very beautiful. This is the size that we're looking for right here. And same size as this one. But I'm going to show you a trick on how to get these for cheaper than $4 to $5, some places even $8 a plant. But I don't think what we're looking for they have here. So what we'll do is we'll head to a different garden center, and then I'll be able to show you how to stretch your dollar, how to get those beautiful arrangements where you can use your smaller cabbages and kales and lettuces and things of that nature. So although these are nice, they're very beautiful, they're healthy looking, they're ornamental, right? You got your frayed leaves that we so love, beautiful. But I'll show you how we're going to get them different. So let's head to the next garden center, because as I glance around, I'm not seeing what we're looking for. So we'll head to the next garden center and see if we can find what we're looking for, so I can show you all this trick that I like to use when I'm doing my fall containers. Good. Made it to the next garden center, and what I want to show you is right over here. So here are your vegetable starts. So what you can do is you can go in, you can get your vegetable starts here. Now these do have some damage here, but if you can find some vegetable starts that are not damaged like this, then, and actually we want the 6-pack, so let's see if they have any 6-packs out. So I don't see any like cabbage that's in a 6-pack. Let's see. So we have some kohlrabi. We have some different greens. You can catch these early enough in the season then you'll be able to get them at a deal. So like for example, these right here are $3.99, right? So you can start them off like this and they'll form up the same exact way. So the end result, you'll get this. Especially if you're doing smaller containers, or the other option is your lettuces. You can use the lettuce instead of using the cabbages. See? And so these are $3.49 versus the $5 and $7. So we'll head to the next place because I don't see what I'm looking for here. So I found some more. They're unpacking some right here. So I may have spoke too soon.
Yeah, we got cauliflower and we got
cauliflower right here, kale.
I haven't seen cabbage yet though in 6-packs.
Okay, so not any cabbages, and that's actually what we're looking for. But we got lettuce, we got kale, all in the 6-packs, but not what we're looking for. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nope.
Let's see if it's anything that we're looking for here. More the pansies here on this rack. I don't see anything that fits in with the color scheme that we're doing, so let's head to the next location. We're at our next location. So what we're going to do, we're going to pick out some of these smaller cabbages and kale. Now we've been doing a lot of the larger plantings of cabbages and kale. Now we're going to do smaller cabbages and kale on this arrangement here. So we have, this one is a nice size, it looks pretty good. So we're going to set this to the side right here. And you kind of want to keep your sizes the same. So if you can get some that are sized up pretty close together, that's going to be a win-win for you. So I'm thinking that this one right here on the end, this is going to be a good contender. And so what I like to do is I'll set them beside each other. That way I can kind of see what size they are. You see how this one is a lot larger than this one right here? So if it comes down to it, we might put that first one back. This one right here looks pretty good. So we'll pull this one out right here. Again, I think that first one is it's very large. Okay, so we got 3. All right, now my eye keeps going back to this one right here. So that looks pretty good. So we'll go with these 4 right here. The price on these are at $3.98, so $4 a piece. at this stunner right here. This is so gorgeous and beautiful, full of nothing but 100% cabbages. No pansies, no violas, nothing peeking out the side. Let's get in and let's devour this deliciousness right here. I use the cabbages that were undertoned with purple. The difference is I use a different size, and that's what gives us our rhythm and our flow here. So on the side, if we come in, we look, we have a larger cabbage here, again with that purple undertone. But then when we swing around the side, they get very small here, right? And then we come in, we repeat the pattern, we go in with 4, and then when we pop around right here, and don't worry about that, you can always come in and fix that to where you can't see as much as a gap. And as the season goes on, you'll start to notice that your spaces will grow in. You can come in, however, and pop another cabbage right there, which is what I'm going to do in a couple seconds. I'll show you how. And then we have a larger cabbage, the same one that's echoing in the front. And then along the side here, we have another row of the smaller cabbage. But hear ye in the top. There is a beautiful, gorgeous, luxurious purple cabbage. And it is giving us just so many different feelings and vibes. At least that's what I am pulling from this container here. And in the top of each container, there is a obelisk here, and it brings us uniformity and it brings us back to the fountain. So each container is done exactly the same, and they look absolutely gorgeous here. When you are doing your containers like this, it's going to be very important that you leave yourself watering holes unless you have drip tubing set up, because this is where you're going to go in and you're going to do that pinpoint watering just like that, and we'll do it in just a second. Before we do that, I am going to come in right here on the side, and we're going to tuck a smaller cabbage in right here, okay? Make sure you leave yourself space, but this one is big, so I am going to go ahead and tuck another cabbage right inside of there. So just like this, we're going to come in and we're going to put her right there. All right, so just like that, and that hole is resolved that quick here. And this is so beautiful and gorgeous. Now, as far as maintenance, you see I have a piece of the cabbage that has a hole in there. It doesn't really look attractive. So what we're going to do, we're going to come in and just take that off. And you will have a little bit of a hole there for a little while, but it will grow back in. Now let's get these babies watered in. Right where I have my watering hole at, I'm going to come in and just water. So just like that, your container, the soil in there will start to settle, but this look, I'm so satisfied with it. It's beautiful and it's so gorgeous. Now we're going to head in because we have another arrangement that we need to plant up. Today has been such a very long day, but I feel like I have gotten a lot accomplished. We're going to pot up these geraniums. Now, here's the thing with your geraniums, you can take them and store them in a paper bag. You can take your geraniums and store them to where you keep the temperature, you know, basically to where you're not freezing them. So you would just let them go dormant, bring them out, put some water over them. We are going to be popping these inside of a terracotta pot because for me, with my geraniums, typically I don't pull them until like November, December sometimes. It just all depends on what's going on that year. But in, of course, my mixed arrangements, I'll go in and I'll pull them because I'm turning everything over for my fall display. But for the most part, there'll always be in some area of my garden some type of geranium in the pot. Either they're on set, on scene, in garden, however you want to say it, or they're off garden. And what I mean by off garden is they're off to the side, they're taking in the energy. If they push out a flush of blooms, then I'll go ahead and I'll use them again. But if they don't, then I'll set them back until they bloom out again. So like last year for my Christmas display, 100% plan to have geraniums. So I came in, I actually did a geranium Christmas tree, and I had the red blooms that was sitting on the counter, or excuse me, the sideboard. But then I also had geraniums incorporated into my Christmas tree. It gets that deep when you're thinking about the displays and things that you're going to do. At least for me, it does. So what we're going to do, we are going to pot these up real quick. And so anytime that I am taking a geranium from one area to the next, what I do is I make sure I have some type of starter fertilizer, whether it be starter fertilizer in the form of grains or a liquid starter fertilizer. They both work the same, and depending on what I'm needing them for, I'll, use one or the other. So I come in and I just start to clean them up. Once I come in, and let me give you an example here, and they're going in a terracotta pot. And the reason why I'm doing them in a terracotta pot like this is because the other container that we evacuated from that area, that was also in the same size terracotta pot. Typically what I'll do is I'll either use the same type of container, or I will go in and I will put them in like a nursery container. For example, these right here, this is typically what I have when I bump containers up. Pretty much if you see them in this can, it was something that I grew along myself. So, but I go with the larger size here. By doing that, it's going to help ensure that they stay watered. Terracotta pots are going to dry out the soil actually through the container because your terracotta is going to be porous. Now, let me get a drink of coffee, honey, because one thing I hate is once I get to messing with the plants and stuff, and we are going to be working a little bit with these, when they tend to drop little crumbs around my saucer, no, baby, that's a safe zone, and this is a good cup of coffee. Oh, it tastes like silk. Tell me, drop down in the comment box. What did you have today? Did you have coffee? Did you have tea? Did you get something else? And I don't know, it seemed like pretty much based off the comment section over here, we're kind of like 50-50 between what I drink and what you all drink. The comments were saying that you all drink coffee. Some of the comments were saying that you all drink tea. Either you like one and don't like the other. Totally 100% drink both. And some of you guys were saying that, okay, I drink tea, but I've never tried loose leaf tea. If you have never tried loose leaf tea, you are missing out because the flavor is just so much more robust. I mean, you can taste the undertones of the tea when you're drinking your tea that is loose leaf. I mean, you can still taste it with your bag tea, but it's just something about that loose leaf tea. It just, the flavors are just so much more enhanced. All right, now that we have that out of the way, we're going to just start coming in and just looking at all of our specimens here. So For example, this one right here, beautiful. I would take one like this and I'll look at it and I will pull back anything that does not look desirable. I go ahead, I don't hold on to it, and I just peel it back. Because I say in a few weeks, these are going to be gorgeous, and I'll make sure I keep you all updated on them so you all can see. So I'll go ahead, we'll put our starter fertilizer on the inside here. Now, this does have old soil in it. I am going to mix a little bit of new in there only to raise the height. That's the only reason why I'm putting a little bit of fresh soil in there, just to lift the container up, because it's really not high enough. So I want the geraniums to kind of come right here. Here, let me show you real quick. So with the geraniums, if we add soil, then it's going to give us this height right here. If we don't, then it's down here. I want these to be lifted just a little bit higher here. Just like that. Okay, so now we got it where we want it to be. And I'm just going to grab and go. And I'm going to utilize more of the larger plants on the inside. Now, these have been sitting out since this morning. So you see how dry it is here. And you see how it has dried down the leaves here. So typically, if you're going to do this, you really want to get them in their containers, or repotted, or just put them in another container until you can get to them. Because now it's kind of like we're setting back and I'm losing more of my greenery. So it is going to take me a while for these to push out, but it's okay. I'll just use some of my fertilizer that I use and they'll be a-okay. Placement. You see how I have the smaller leaves that are right here? Now, with the smaller leaves, I'm going to pop this in so that my leaves face on the outside, because this is going to push our leaves on the outside of the pot here. Same thing with this. If I can position it so that my smaller leaves are going to point out, then that's what I'll do. You see, we have some nice young growth here. Same thing right here. And then it's wying off. So this is one that I will use on the outside of the pot. I'm going to position this to where my new growth here is tucked right here. See how that's when I'll start to get my plant to fill in along the bottom here. Add some more soil. And then we'll help stabilize these using our plant stakes. See how that instantly stabilized? Here are the plant stakes that I use to stabilize. You can pull them out later, but for the most part, I'll go ahead and I'll keep these in place. And I keep these on hand because they come in handy, I'm telling you all. I'll make sure to link some of the brands that I've used before so you all can have quick access to them. But I'm telling you, if you're going to get into having plants year-round, you're going to want to make sure you have the proper supplies. In wood stakes, you can even save your old bamboo stakes that you get in different plants and things. Save those, sterilize them, and then use them. This is what we're looking like now. I am going to water this in, but I'm going to take it outside. Now, my day's not ending. I have to go and I have to water. And I definitely have to hit my fountain urn out there because the fountain urn has just been stressed because the temperatures have been high. But actually, according to our book, we have to, our design book, we're supposed to be pulling that urn. So let me know, do you think we should go ahead and pull the urn? Should we pull them? Or should we leave the fountain urn in its place? I am going to go ahead, I'm taking off all of the blooms here because I don't want the container to put any energy into keeping these blooms blooming. I want it to focus on just getting readjusted. To the new circumstances that it's under. So now that I have this done, what I'm going to do, I am going to head outside. I'm going to set this in its place. I'm going to head outside. I'm going to start watering and I'll probably be out there. It is definitely going to be dark when I come inside, but hey, what do? I don't have my garden set up on drip. It would help, but right now I just don't have time to stop and do it. I just finished my watering and look what we have here. It's a snail. Hold on, let me turn the water off real quick. Ooh. Okay, we got a snail climbing into the window box to enjoy some rare delicacies. But not today, brother, sister, or whoever you are. You getting up out of here. Don't be trying to stay still, baby. I see you. It's a slug, right? Which one is it, a slug or a snail? Drop down and let me know.